Okay, there we go. Just we have a few technical issues. Guys, welcome to At Home with Wes. I'm your host, Wes Taylor, America's general contractor. Together, we're bridging the gap between homeowners and their homes. So glad to be with you. You know, Ruben, I think Ruben's our producer. Who's Coach Saban. Ruben, do you realize this is, I think, the first Saturday that we've been here where we didn't have to trudge through rain and icy streets?
Yeah, first time for everything.
Did you make a call or something? What's that?
You know, hey, I got a connection. You know, sometimes I have to, hey.
You're connected to our guest today. I know it. Now you're powerful.
It's the M-Town. It's the M-Town connection. You're correct.
The M-Town. It's like the MG's music group. Hey.
I guess, yes. That's a good one.
Guys, first of all, we come here to you every Saturday morning, and we're live. We could pre-record like a lot of people do, but guys, you got to connect with each other, and the best way to do that is one-on-one. What a great show we had last week. So far we've had some great guests on. Jason Young, who's a friend of mine and a friend of our guest today. Jason, if you're listening, man, bless you and your family. Great things that you're doing out there, all phase guttering. And boy, he's also got he's got a great new product that is an electronic screen for your screaming porches. And they're elaborate, they're beautiful, extremely high quality. We had a great show with our friend Philip Nappy of Vavia, and that's Vavia, the new company that does the waste services. They are growing. They are always looking for good drivers and good employees. He's a great employer. They are they've got what's the word? They're franchising out, and they've got several other markets. I think there's like a dozen of them or something around the Southeast, growing like crazy. Great entrepreneurs. We've also had country singer Noel Toland. That was fun. Who else do we have? Oh yeah, our friend, one of our sponsors from Revital Health and Wellness Clinics, and that's Brandon Sweat, and he's going to be another guest on here coming soon because we talk about everything that is important to you and everything important to you and how it all comes together in that very magical place called your home, right? So we got a couple admin things to do. Ruben, we've got a thing coming up. You know, we do iHeart does Wine on the River, and for those of you, we got people listening. Obviously, our flagship station here in Music City, Middle Tennessee, Nashville. But we being on iHeart, people listen to us all over the country. We've got listeners in Louisiana, California, all over Texas, and even outside the country in Detroit. So, yeah, we do Wine in the Winter and Wine on the River, and we got our new event that's coming up, and it benefits the Friends of Franklin Parks, and it's called, you ready? Bubbles and Bourbon Fest. That's
gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and I have it written down where it's supposed to. Well, first of all, it's on April 9th from 4 to 8, and it's at the park at Harlandale's Farm. For those of you down in Williamson County, anybody who wants to go, they'll sell out. It's great music. It's great adult sparkling beverages of choice, my kind of thing. And it's 4 to 8, 4 to 9, something like that. So you can go in the afternoon, and everybody's getting really jazzed up. Do that, and I love the names. I love iHeart. I love everything we do here. Bourbon and Bubbles.
It's like you read it, and it's like this has to be the best thing of all time.
Well, or it's your Aunt Helen is visiting, and she had too much to drink, and now she's in the bathtub.
I saw the pics last year. It looks like a freaking awesome time.
Okay, so what do we have here? Oh, we got. I want to give. We do a couple shout outs, especially if you've got a product or a service that has the right price. And today we're going to talk all about that with our guest. He's one of the best contractors. He's very wise as well. He's also a great friend. But when we come across a company like Chris Milam Optical, they've got great product. They've got great prices. They've got great people. They have great processes. And if you got somebody, I don't come on here and trash, although I'm getting ready to a certain company, but I try to come on, spread the good news. There's enough bad news out there in the world. There is, and as you know, we have realtors on. We had Pete Prosser on last week. People who are doing it right, people who understand what they're selling, people who put the customer first, not just Susie's cell phone. Okay, these are people who really know what they're doing. And somebody who had my back many, many years ago. She's a friend of the show. She's a friend of, as Chuck Gann. And it's Bobby Bryant. And Bobby, B-O-B-B-I, Bobby Bryant. And she's with Park Real Estate. She handles Williamson County, Murfreesboro, Nashville. She's everywhere. Did me some super solids back in the Great Recession. A lot of you don't remember that if you're too young. I want to give her a big shout out for all your real estate needs down that way, Murfreesboro, Nashville, and Williamson County. Call Bobby Bryant at Park Realty. Give her a big shout out. Now, before we let the time get away from us, and Ruben, you're going to keep me on the time because I get so into this. I just,
Of course. I got you.
Okay.
No problem.
Hey, by the way, Chris, do not look at him when he talks, because once you and I start laughing, and I've done that before, we almost all got fired. Dogs and cats were sleeping together. Total chaos. So don't look at him.
He's not lying either, Chris. He's not.
Hey, Ruben, did you see our guest today?
I did.
You know what? Hey, what does Derrick Henry say to you when he walks up to you and looks up to you? What
to me?
Yeah.
He says, yes, sir.
That's right. Now, what does Derrick Henry do when he comes across this guy?
He don't say nothing.
He just keeps walking.
He just keep on going. And I understand why. I do.
Today with us in the studio, before I get too blabby, and we usually take the first quarter here and do a lot of admin. For those of you who are driving through Middle Tennessee and you've got on the talk dial, we're really glad you're with us. We're here every Saturday. You can catch us anywhere in the country at the iHeart app. And that's you can go to Talk Radio 1510 WLAC or 98.3 on the FM dial. Our guest today is probably about the best friend a guy can have. He is what I would consider to be the perfect example of a contractor, and we're going to get into all of that. So with us this morning is Chris Cianciolo, our new sponsor, Cianciolo Painting. Chris, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming down. You feel good?
Yeah, I feel great.
Do you need? Yeah, because you had crab legs and bourbon here about 15 minutes ago.
I wish.
Oh my God! Hey, why don't we do this? Let's see how low our voices can go for the interview today.
If that's what you'd like to do, that's fine, Wes.
That's your normal voice. I mean, go deep.
I won't go that deep.
So, Chris, we got just about a minute left here in this first segment. I'm glad you're here, but today I want to talk about the contractor side of things to clarify for end users what it means to interact with a real contractor. And there are several things that we've got to discuss. When I say painting contractor, I hear two different words. One is a material and the other is an activity. And to me, being a contractor is not the guy who puts the thing on his car and comes out and does something for you. It's a lot more involved than that.
That's correct. You know, the painting part of it is trying to find the right material, the right equipment, and then the contracting part is trying to find out what the expectations are of the homeowner or the contractor that I'm working for, so I can choose and select or help guide the people into making the proper decisions regarding the materials and the equipment, and then also finding out the expectations are really important.
Wow.
As far as
Yeah.
I would say, expectations with communication is the main ingredient of all of this.
Isn't that funny? Because all the things we're going to talk about, all the things I ever talked to contractors about, the one thing that they leave out is the expectation. And not just the expectation, and we set a level of expectation. It's getting on the owner's side, right? What's in their heads? What are they wanting to do? You want to paint, or are you trying to solve a bigger problem? That's a big part of this. All right. So here was first quarter. It goes by awfully quickly. We're going to get into it with our special guest today, Chris Cianciolo of Cianciolo Painting. Together, we're bridging the gap between homeowners and their homes. You know, my new book, of course, we've changed quite a bit about it. It's for sale on Amazon. Reviews are pretty good. And this book is called Successful and Profitable Home Ownership, The Kick Butt Guide. And this is the greatest housewarming gift you could give anybody. Every homeowner should have it. It's like an owner's manual. Do you think about this? Every large ticket item that you buy comes with an owner's manual. And if you didn't, you can go online and just look it up. Not with your home. So you need to know, and I'm not talking about fixing things. You go to YouTube for that. I'm talking about equity. I'm talking about the things we talk about here. But I go into more depth there. This is the three-dimensional version of that. So if you want so Successful and Profitable Home Ownership, The Kick Butt Guide by Wes Taylor, America's General Contractor. Now, if you want to email me, it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. Right now it's very, very simple. Wes at Radio Wes. Wes at Radio Wes. All right, guys, with us today is, like I said, is a great friend of mine. We've known each other for many years. We have many, many mutual friends. Very successful entrepreneur, and that's not easy to do, especially in the hostile climate here. It's hard to start a business in the Ukraine right now for some strange reason. But it's big Chris Cianciolo of Cianciolo Painting. He's also got another company. He's a very large contractor. There's nothing they can't do. Nobody calls Chris because they want low bid. They call him because they want quality. They know that it's going to be done right with the right people and all this. Chris, when we left off, we were talking a little bit about level of expectation. And too many times contractors come in, they look at what you want, they throw a price at you, and they get into this bid thing, which is a dead end. You don't pick your neurosurgeon that way. You hope you don't pick your teachers that way for your kids. You don't pick babysitters for your kids that way. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's tough. I think one of the biggest challenges you have is it's like in anything else, you right now we're bombarded by so much information out here, and a homeowner is enamored by pictures or magazines and articles and color of the year, color of the month.
I took a picture of Tom Cruise to my haircut guy. I said, Dave, can you do this? He says, well, sure.
That's exactly right, Wes. Just because you see an article and you, for instance, your analogy here about bringing a magazine to a hairstylist and going, golly, if I could get that cut, I will look more like Tom Cruise. And so many people sometimes, like we all are guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. Everybody I know, we're affected by everything around us. And sometimes just because you see something else that's good for somebody else's house, doesn't mean that it's good for your house. That color, right.
Everybody's painting their houses white or monochrome or black monochrome or something like that. And the guy next door says, I want to do the same thing. I understand what you're trying to get at, but that's not going to work here. Not that you would necessarily get in there and tell them, it's their job to pick the color, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, either the homeowner really knows what they want to do, or they have a designer or a decorator that helps select colors, because it goes along with, if sometimes you're just painting walls, sometimes they want to change fabrics, sometimes they want to change furniture, sometimes they're changing artwork, sometimes you just need this painting to be a background. But it's a matter of trying to figure out, like you approach somebody like a first date. You don't know, am I going to be able to take this young lady or your significant other to, am I going to be able to pull in drive-through to grab a hamburger because she wants a hamburger, or do I need to sit down somewhere where she can have a hamburger, somebody else can have a salad.
Like in a restaurant. It's a nice
product. You
can
have a glass of wine, and the color of the month or the color of the year could be the special of the menu. That doesn't mean that that's what's really going to happen here, and you need to try to figure out what's good for this homeowner and figure out what their expectations are. Do they want something to where they just want you to do a certain amount of things, or do they? I think the thing I'm trying to get at is the environment. It's just not having painters in your house.
Well, let's get into the psychology for a second, because I'm ADD. I'll forget this for sure. In my book, I write about painting, and a lot of that I learned from you, some of the minutia. I thought I was a pretty good painter. Painting is one of the things that you can do at your home that brings with it back a 100% return on investment. So it doesn't matter what the paint deal costs. You're going to get your money back. So, and don't just do it to sell. You want to do it so you can live in it, enjoy it, and then you can go sell it. That's fine. But Chris, it seems to me like this is the only trade where when you submit a price or a process, critical path we call it, they're not comparing you necessarily to other painters or other contractors. They're comparing you to them doing it themselves. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, years ago when I painted, we first started out, painting is a luxury. I mean, to hire somebody to come to your house to paint when I was younger, not everybody could do that. It was normally people had the bigger homes. The people that I know, mom and pops with 3 kids, the dad or the mom would jump in on the weekend and paint a bedroom for one of the kids or their room. And so people didn't have the means, or they just looked at it like they didn't want to spend that money. And so
we'll save a bunch, we do it ourselves.
Right. And so everybody's been painting since they were in the 5th grade. You started finger painting. Everybody knows how to paint. Everybody, if you lose your job, if you're a fireman, everybody I know knows how to paint. It's just a matter of, it's about time and value of your time, and do you want to spend the money to have somebody else come and do it? And a lot of times people will pay a gardener $50 an hour to work in a garden for 3 hours or to mow the yard.
Every week.
But to paint, to go into a house, are like, oh, golly, that's expensive. And the reason why they think it's expensive is because they forget all the things that come along with it. I mean, it's a challenge. It really can be a challenge sometimes.
So, and if you, listen, guys, I love watching a really good painter do their thing. the musculature, the way the hands move, how straight the lines are. To me, I don't really, not much. It's not very exciting to watch just the average homeowner paint. And there's so much more to painting than people know. Chris, we're gonna do Stump the Contractor a little later. I'm gonna keep asking him questions though. We're not just talking about painting walls or give me a difference between new construction, old construction. Let's talk about cedar versus vinyl versus brick, blah, blah, blah.
Well, in new construction, you work for several good contractors out here. In the olden days, people would hire the painter to come in at the end, and the contractor would almost hand the job over to the painter to supervise and tighten up everything, because really the painter's job was to not only just to apply material to a substrate, but it's to fix the imperfections or to do this or to coordinate with the floor guy, to be at the finishing touches is what it's all about. With homeowners, you have basically, I'm walking into a home, I'm a stranger to them, but they're a stranger to us, and we want them to feel comfortable, and we want them to know that not only are we going to try to achieve what their expectations are, but we're going to try to be friendly. We're going to be in a manner to where if the lady of the house needs to run and go run some errands, she knows that we're okay to be in the house. We're going to take care of their pets. If you're going to be out of town for a day or two, can you get the paper? Can you get this? Or can you make sure you lock up? And all those things now become my responsibility. And you have to surround yourself with good people, a good team of people. And when you're working on new construction, you also have, the homeowners, you're working around children, dogs, furniture, carpet. When you're working around new construction, you're working around electricians, plumbers, carpenters, and it's two different worlds.
So I know the contractors, I know the answer to this, but homeowners, who's usually your boss, the husband or the wife?
The lady runs the show, and if I can make the lady of the house happy, the man really just wants to know generally, and this is just this. I hope we're not going to get in trouble here, but the man really just wants to know, how much is this going to cost? What's this costing me? And he really is heading out the house. First thing in the morning, that guy's gone.
Look, I ask for price all the time when I get, because look, and here's another thing to remember. Chris is not only an end user and has to buy from other people, he's also a service provider. Like, that's what I do. Bridging the gap between the two. We've got our feet in both camps. A few years ago, Chris, you might remember, I was so busy, and I don't know, I was running 80, 90-hour weeks, and I had a great client wanted me to bring my guys in and paint the place, paint the whole house. I think you were booked like 5 years out at that point. And so a friend of mine said, hey, I got two great painters. They'll be there. I thought, great, let's do this. I can manage them. And he says they're great painters. And he was a pretty good builder. These guys get there. I get them everything they need. I leave to go do something for like 2 hours. I come back. All the furniture in this beautiful multi-million-dollar home is covered in drywall dust. There's primer dried on the floor, beautiful hardwoods. And I'm thinking, what in the hell is this? And obviously, they were gone immediately, and nobody understood why. And I was very apologetic to the owner. In 1 minute, tell me about the people who work for you. After all, they're 5 feet from your 12-year-old kids.
Yeah, it's hard to find good quality people, but a lot of times the challenge is that you're going to laugh, but Michelangelo didn't have workers' comp and liability. But
but he was a hack,
right? But you have to find people that not only can paint. And that's got to be a good quality. You really do want somebody that can paint. But I've known guys that are the greatest painters on earth, and they don't show up. They don't want to come. They want to work 2 days out of the week. You need to find that special person, a group of people that can show up, be on time, be punctual, be honest, be trustworthy, be friendly, and help create an environment at the home to where some guys there may not be the greatest painter, but overall they're bringing an experience that is going to
how valuable. Yeah.
Well, and then you group a couple of people together where they can work together as a team, and so it kind of evens out.
Okay, good. Well, so you can see we're doing this sort of in like an algebra equation. We're going a little bit at a time and working our way through the psychology. Then we're going to talk about contracting and. Contractors went for years starving to death because of the Great Recession. He's getting to find out. He's a great listener to this show. He's getting to find out now what it's like to have to be me here and sitting in this. Here looking at you.
You have to be able to get it back at you, because you'll send some one-liners my way, but I have to be able to send it back to you.
I think this is the show that we put in the can, so when I got to be out of town, which is coming up actually.
Okay.
That we let's think about that. And since we're going to do that,
Sounds good.
You are you and I have a relationship outside of here as well. I'm also a big fan of your podcast, and it's just very different. And it's there's something. I don't know how to explain it. It's got some extra gears that, look, there's 7.5 million podcasters out there. I don't think 7.5 million people have something so interesting to say that, and I'm not saying I do, but what's the name of your show?
The Surround Sound Podcast.
How did you get that? That's like such a common name. Is that legal?
Yeah, it's legal.
You got lawyers.
I'm not saying Surround Sound, the other guys, is just the Surround Sound Podcast.
The Surround Sound Podcast?
Correct.
Like the University of Alabama, Roll Tide?
Basically, yeah.
Roll Tide.
The Ohio State. Oh, stop.
They hurt my feelings the other night, too.
I bet they did.
Yeah.
You're fine.
NCAA tournament. What's going on down there, Crimson Tide? Hurt my whole heart. My bracket is shot now.
Well, that happens a lot down there, Ruben. So, guys, welcome back. I'm Wes Taylor, America's General Contractor. Together, we're bridging the gap between people, homeowners, and their homes. It's a fun thing to do because I get to exhaust any subject that we want related to your quality of life. Everything important to you in your life comes together there in your home. It doesn't matter. And we're going to talk with our guest about this today. It doesn't matter if it's an apartment. It doesn't matter if it's a trailer. It doesn't matter if it's Castle in Belmead or Cherry Creek. It doesn't matter. It's your home. And the laws in this country, it doesn't matter if it's a rental. The laws in this country regard it as your castle, right? Chris Cianciolo of Cianciolo Painting is our guest. He's one of our new sponsors. I am thrilled at that too. I am looking for another sponsor, but I want it to be somebody in the mortgage business, because right now things are crazy out there. I'm not just looking for a mortgage broker. I'm looking for the one that subscribes to what we do here, right? Product, people, process, price. Okay, so you can email me and get a hold of me, Wes at Radio Wes. Wes at Radio Wes. And the new book is Successful and Profitable Home Ownership. The Kick Butt Guide. It's the very, 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 and you can get it on Amazon. It's the very best gift you can give somebody. So, first of all, I'm always glad to be with you. I know my guest is glad to be here today. What a great friend, and this is a contractor's contractor, Chris Cianciolo. Now, Chris, we've talked about a few subjects so far. Here we are in the third quarter. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about the psychology, and would you agree that right now contractors are very, very choosy, the good ones, about who they work for?
I think so. There's a lot of challenges as far as right now on new construction. A lot of times, nobody really comes out and asks you detailed questions.
Like what?
Well, if I'm working for like another contractor, general contractor, they'll ask me, "What's your price?" That's it. They just want to know what's the price. And it's like, well, I mean, what can I ask you a few questions? And they're like,
yeah,
well,
does Charles
okay.
Manson live in the room?
and it's like, well, are we staining? Are we painting? Is there crown? Are we doing the brick? Are we doing the outside? Is it, I mean, and when you start asking them questions, they can't answer the questions, but they're frustrated because you can't give them a price. But
and
they
you find out that their kid is like Damien Omen, and the room's got blood on all the walls.
Right. And so, and you'll have people do research now on the internet, and you have everybody on the internet. So now not only does everybody know how to paint, but everybody's got all this information that they're going by. And I don't know who they're talking to on the internet. I don't know where they got the information from or who it is. I mean, give me a name and a number and show me what they've done and where they've been. Because if you just looked up square footage, well, square footage is a really good starting point. It's one of the things that helps you maybe as a guide.
Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world as far as how you determine what the price is. I mean, you know as well as I do, we've talked about this before. You have a 12 by 12 room, and I get a phone call. Chris, can you just give me a price over the phone? And You don't know is the room empty? Is it got furniture? How high are the ceilings? How much trim is there?
How often has Hunter Biden stayed in the room?
Right. You don't know what the condition of the room is. Do you want, when everybody says we just want to freshen it up and put one coat of paint. Well, one coat of paint might work on trim after it's prepped properly, but one coat on a wall generally never works just because of the prep and the.
Well, you got color changes too. I mean, now you got to neutralize it and then paint it 2 coats.
Right. Or you're doing nail holes, and if you're putting eggshell, it flashes, so you need to spot prime it. So you've got all these different variables, Wes, that it's unfair to the painter. Not to ask or be allowed to ask. So for me, information is the key, because ultimately my goal is to help you. I mean, I don't want you, even if you hire someone else, that's fine. But I mean, at least let's get you the information that you need to help determine what you want to do.
You've got to be in an apples to apples scenario. Is this person got this and will do this and do this? Or are they coming in and just slapping some rollers on and they're gone? There's a big difference. That's why I use the word contractor. And by the way, I'm going to give a free shout out to somebody who I really care about. Is Eric Eagleton. He owns Eric, the best mechanic I've ever known. He's down there at. In fact, he just bought Grassland. Is it Grassland Auto Care?
Yeah.
Is it? So I'm going to call Eric. Eric, my car's not working. How much is it going to cost to fix it? He's like, well, we can bring it down. No, I can't. It's not working. I just need to know how much it's going to cost.
Right, we get that a lot. I mean, the other day I was in the paint store and I'd lost a job to the lady, and you never know. Really.
Okay, listen to this, guys. Listen, say that again.
I just lost the job, and so I run into the lady, or I see the lady in the paint store, and
what's she driving?
Well, this particular lady had a black Jaguar. And,
so she's broke. I got it.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, though, is that I'm watching her sit in the paint store for at least maybe she had been there for a while. And then she's loading up paint in the back seat of her car. And I'm thinking, well, if I'd have known, that's another variable, I guess, is that, are you going to, I don't care if the customer really wants to buy the paint, but if I know what the paint is, it's better for me to buy the paint so I know the material that we're going to apply. But, I mean, a lot of these people will hire some people that don't have the money to buy the paint up front. So then they're telling the homeowner, this is why, well, the other part is why I can do this room for this price is because you're going to have to go get the paint. You're going to have to pick it up. You're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to bring it back here. And the homeowner doesn't tell you all this stuff. So you have to ask questions to know what kind of service you're going to provide. And
okay, so are you asking me when you say you're asking me to paint your house and you'd like a price for it, or really, I think, well, if there's any message that we're giving to the owners and the customers today is there's so much more to painting than just paint. It's a process. What are you asking me to do for you?
Right. And that's my job, really. It's my job to find out from the potential client that I can help them. And sometimes just by asking them questions, you're able to arrive at that place to where then they know by asking questions, you're able, sometimes they know by you asking questions. I'm told a lot, Chris, we weren't asked all these questions. And that makes me wonder, well, if you weren't asked all these questions, and how do you know what they're supposed to be doing when they get here to do it for the price that they gave you?
You know, another thing, too, is when I get called in, I'm called in typically to solve problems. The problem is not that we need a new kitchen. Is it why? Because it's dated? No, it's just we don't have enough storage space. Well, then you don't need a new kitchen. You need more storage space. And I have a lot of solutions for you. Or a guy like Chris come in and say, well, have we thought about this? And have you thought about this? I want to know more about this space thing. Where are you getting pinched here at the house? What's happening? And if with enough questions, and you're not being nosy, I'm trying to find out how to solve your problem. That's really the approach that we're doing here, and that's what he's talking about. And I find out that there's a tremendous amount of attention between the husband or the wife. Because the kids, they're using the island for this, and there's no storage because we've got all those things on here. On top, there's no place to store stuff, and there's this tension in the family, which is unhealthy, obviously, as if there's not enough to be tense about in this day and age. I'm here to solve that problem, and it's not new. New appliances are not the answer, maybe. So you've got to ask questions, and I think that's what Chris is getting after. Chris, we've got 15 seconds left in this segment. You want to play a game of Stump the Contractor when we get back?
Not really, Wes, but I guess I'll have to.
No, you don't have a choice. I was just being nice. Successful and Profitable Homeownership, The Kick Butt Guide by Wes Taylor, America's General Contractor. Available on Amazon. You can reach me at Wes at Radio Wes. Pretty soon, we're just about there. I told you it's about 3 weeks away, and we are really right about there. We're launching our new entity. It'll be on Facebook. It'll be in a website. It's going to be all over social media. I'm going to want you to join in. I think you go there now. I don't even know if it's up yet, but it'll be At Home with Wes. How simple is that? But one of the feathers in my cap, I'm a pretty happy guy, okay? There's a lot of things for which I'm grateful. I'm a very blessed man. I've seen my share of traumas. I've definitely looked the devil in the face a couple times. I've sat with God. I'm a blessed guy. One of those blessings is you all and Saturday mornings. I'm very grateful for it. Everybody who makes it happen at iHeart, from Northern California down to Louisiana, all the way over to WOR country in New York City. And we're glad to be here out of our flagship station here in the South. Love the South. Things are getting warmer. Trees are starting to bud. With us today in the studio is a good friend and a great guest, and probably one of the most thorough, great contractors I've ever known. It's Chris Cianciolo. That's a Sicilian name. I think that's a Sicilian name. I don't look him in the eye. I never do. And I know he's not going to hurt me. I've asked him all the time, because if he tried, I'd be like a spot on the ground. Chris, we're so glad you're with us this morning. Dragged you out of bed. I know you like to sleep until 9 or 10.
Yeah, right, Russ. Yeah. I'm glad to be here. I really appreciate you asking me. It's an honor to be here.
You know, one of the first shows we did, we were on the air years ago, and Chris has been such a great supporter of not only me and my career, because that's what friends do, but hero of the radio. One of our first guests this go-around, we've been on the air now for maybe 4 months, 5 months, was Brandon Sweat of Revital Health. And I wanted to talk about, with him, common injuries, because he's a healthcare provider. I want to know common injuries, break it down by age, break it down what the injury is. You know, our demographic, Chris, is 35, 38 years old to 75, 6 figures, average income, mostly male, but we got a lot of females. And by the way, they're all very good looking. And yeah, you can thank me for that. But the most common injury are falls.
Yeah, and usually they're not from a very long ladder either. Usually it's a 6 or 8 foot ladder.
Yeah, it is.
It's people reaching out too far. And I've got a certain group of people I've worked for years, and like what we try to do too, and I've worked for other guys. And if you're doing an outside of a house, you've got these little things that you don't mind doing for people, and you certainly don't want to see a homeowner out there getting on an extension ladder. So it's like, hey, while we're here, you want to change out your exterior lights on your house, go buy the bulbs.
We're already on the ladder.
We'll take the ones that are out. That way you know what to go get. If you want to upgrade to LED, let us change out your bulbs while we're going around the house painting it. I mean, it's just some little things to where we can try to help the homeowner from getting on a ladder.
That's where I was going with this. Remember, guys, the show, and you know what? I love that show. I may do it again. Should you? It's like lending and borrowing tools. Should you? And I had the neighbor who asked me to borrow 20. It was a 24-foot extension ladder. No, it was 30-foot extension ladder, because he wanted to get clean his gutters out. It's like freeze altitude. Something mine is like 25 feet. Chuck's, he can walk all the way to the moon and back, no problem. He had never had any experience on a ladder. When he falls, if he gets hurt, I'm not going to forgive myself. He's got a family. Everybody I know, a homeowner, has taken some sort of spill. And I thought, if he falls, the attorneys are going to, first question they're going to ask, whose ladder is it? And now this is really, Chris, you didn't know I was going here, but we talk about the people who are there working on your site. What kind of exposure do you have as a homeowner? Are they covered? When this guy falls off this ladder, he may not even be from this country, may not even speak English, be able to tell you he's injured. When he falls and becomes paralyzed, guess who the first question they're going to ask? Whose home is it? What's the address? And now you've lost everything. And that's the way it works. Or you can spend $100,000, $200,000 defending yourself. It makes sense to me. You want to go with contractors, not just painting. Every contractor, make sure that they have your back covered. I'm not just talking they can do the job and they got great billing and they're accurate and they're on time. They're covered. There's a lot of exposure at 20, 30 feet.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example, and this isn't, like a pressure washer wand. It's like a gun. And I've got a dear friend of mine, Dwight Jones, with Tri-State Soft Wash, and he's got the equipment, he's got the material, and he can
I've
clean.
heard. Say him again. What is that?
It's Dwight Jones
Dwight.
with Tri-State Soft Wash, and the thing that I like is he can clean gutters most of the time from the ground. And so he himself and his crew they don't even get on a ladder. So, and then a lot of times I'll have a homeowner, a young lady, she goes, well, I'm probably going to just pressure wash the deck myself. I would rather bring in somebody like Dwight to help me do certain things to where it's to the quality of where we want it to be clean the way I want it to be clean.
And not damaged.
Yeah, and you don't want, and you don't want to see anybody even the people that are experienced, we hurt ourselves sometimes. People that aren't used to being familiar with certain equipment or materials, at least we have a respect for what we're working around, and we're aware of the little things that could happen. And once again, we try to do this not to charge people more money, but it's such a small thing, and it's really not that expensive to do to prevent injuries.
So, and since this is the fourth segment, I'm going to let you run here in just a minute with anything you want to talk about. I'm not going to throw you on the spot, but here's something that we never really talked about during the Rona, this virus that shut everything down. How did that, and how has that affected the materials that you need to do your job and the people that you need to do your job? Were you affected at all?
It was a major challenge.
What was the challenge?
The challenge was, of course, you were very limited on the work that you could do on an interior of a home. I mean, even if you followed all the protocols and you assured all the homeowners that you were going to do everything by the book, you still have people that just don't want to do it, and you have to respect that. That's the first thing. The first rule I always try to remember: it's your home. You make the rules. You are the rule maker. We follow the rules for your home. You may not want us getting there till 8 o'clock. We're not going to get there till 8 o'clock. Some people don't care if we're there. We're like painters are like milkmen. They'll get there at 6 o'clock in the morning if you let them in their house. It's just more stress for the lady of the house because she's busy trying to make breakfast, kids off to school, and doing everything else. But during that time, you had materials were limited. And so instead of going to your local neighborhood paint store, you're having to go to 5 stores to hunt down the line of materials or the grade of materials.
Absolutely.
And it became a challenge it's just not me. It's you and I both know people.
I went 3 months. I couldn't find oil-based primer, and I think Sherwin finally had it. I said, guys, save it for me if it comes in.
Yeah, and how are you supposed to do all these jobs without certain materials? So you had to get very creative, and it just wasn't us. And so we would book a job, and then the poor guy that's the framer or the trim carpenter, he can't get what he wants, and so then it affected scheduling. And of course, you have some people that always take advantage of a bad situation where they're going to keep using that excuse until the cows come home. They're never going to get away, and they're always constantly going to use this as an excuse. But even the good ones were having just a tremendous challenge trying to gather all the materials that they needed to try to keep on schedule. And it became very, very difficult.
I remember after the Great Flood, a lot of you folks that are new here are passing through. We didn't know it. It was a very tragic event. It was like a 1 in a 4,000 year event. Neighborhoods, parts of the city were covered. You couldn't see the houses. Heartbreaking. They were amazing. Everybody needed new air conditioning. Everybody needed new water heater. Well, I called Chuck again. He's our listener. He's also the best HVAC guy and one of the best builders I've ever known. And I sent him down to a neighbor's house. And I said, hey, they need some help. And, of course, for absolutely they're going to remain nameless. He went down there, and he came back down to my house, like within an hour. He said, dude, I don't know what this and that, dude. I'm never going back there. And this is Chuck. He's like John Wayne on crack. I said, well, what's going on down there? The way that they talk to each other and the screaming and in front of the kids. And he said, I can't be in that environment. I said, I don't blame you. And I didn't bring it up because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but we get to be picky that way, the good contractors. You don't want the lesser ones that are just throwing you a little bid and, hey, I know Chris and Wes came in and they're going to do the whole house at $10,000 or whatever, and some guy came and said, I'll do it for $2,000. You want to go with him? Go with him.
That's correct. It's still hard to lose a job. It still bothers me to this day. I mean, when I was younger, I would kind of double back and sue it. But, you have to have faith that the jobs that you're on, you're on for a reason, and you need to worry about the jobs that you're on and care about the jobs you're on instead of worrying about the jobs you didn't get. Worry about the jobs you do get, because that's how you get more jobs.
How when you and Chuck and I are talking, our friends, we always change. Okay, we always change the answer a little bit. But how far out are you booked, or that doesn't apply necessarily to everything you do? Our outside jobs were out about 6 months, or our inside jobs were available, or yeah, we can do your cabinets or whatever.
It's difficult now. Of course, we have spring, so now we've got everybody calling for exteriors, and then people wait till this week, and they're going, hey, we really got to get our house painted by the end of this month. And you go look at the house, and it should have been painted 10 years ago, and you're wondering, why is this deadline so important? So it's a challenge for
We've
everyone.
got with us today in the studio, we're getting ready to wrap it up, and it's going to be a hard break. Chris Cianciolo of Cianciolo Painting. Everybody's 615. We don't need to remember that. 445-5053. 445-5053. You can always get a hold of me, Wes at Radio Wes. Chris, in this last 30 seconds, you want to play Stump the Contractor?
Go ahead, Wes.
You sure you're ready?
Go ahead, Wes.
All right. Chris, Howard Stern or MASH?
Howard Stern.
Correct. Ole Miss or Auburn?
Ole Miss, I guess.
Ruben's laughing. Yeti or Orca?
Bigfoot.
Yeti or Orca?
Yeti.
Yeti or Dolphin?
Yeti.
Yeti or Nature Boy Ric Flair?
Nature Boy.
Nature Boy or Chuck Norris?
Nature Boy.
Nature Boy or Bruce Lee?
Nature Boy.
Nature Boy or Pele?
That's a tough one. Nature Boy.
True or false?
It's always true, Wes.
I'll give you one more shot. True or false?
It depends on who it's coming from.
That's correct. I guess we're on the hard break here. What do we got, 20 seconds left?
Yeah, and I was thoroughly enthused by the Nature Boy Ric Flair, by the way, just to throw that in.
The Nature Boy. I'm Wes Taylor. We're so glad you're with us. We'll see you next week.